Live. We were alive already, but it's confirming that we're live now. Just so you know, I don't know if you needed any of that confirmation or not, but that's what I got. That's my opening joke for
That's
the
good.
day.
Thank you.
It was
Was
really
that a good
good.
one? Yeah. Was that
It
all
was.
right, thanks.
Like
Yeah.
I giggled a little inside.
Well, thank you. And thank all of you for joining our Wednesday night webinar brought to you by NoCD. If you're looking for help for OCD related conditions, check us out at nocd.com. That's nocd.com, where we do work with OCD and related conditions like body focused repetitive behaviors and tics and hoarding, depression, PTSD, some BDD. So we'd be happy to assist you. Our care team is standing by to take your call or for you to log in on the NoCD website and pick a time to chat with us. Happy to get you set up. We take lots of insurances, and we work in the UK and Canada and the US of A and Australia. Tonight I have some guests. Hello, veterans. Thank you for your service to both of you. And since we do celebrate things with veterans this month, we thought how appropriate to highlight some of our veterans here at NoCD. So let me allow the two of you to introduce yourselves. Sonia, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. I get to go first. Hi, I am Sonia Reed. I am a LCSW. I am the lead clinician for hoarding, so I work directly under Dr. Patrick B. McGrath. So I'm his number two. And I've been here 4 years, so I really enjoy being here and helping everyone, all the members.
Awesome. And hey, Jamie.
Hi, Sonia. That was a great job. I'm Jamie McDermott, also an LCSW. I'm the leader of nothing, which is probably a good choice. Right, fair. And then, yeah, I mean, I also enjoy the work. I've been here about a year now, and it's really rewarding, and I like helping people achieve their goals.
Tell us a little bit about your military service for the two of you. What branch, where'd you serve, all those things? I'd like to hear about that.
Well, I'll go first because Jamie's job is way cooler than mine was. I served in the Air Force from 2000 to 2004. I was a bioenvironmental engineer, which is just a fancy word for industrial hygiene. I did all your water sampling, air sampling, soil samplings. Basically, if you had a smell or something strange, you called our office and we'd go out with our little air meters and try to figure out what the smell was. And we were kind of first responders too. If there was like a fuel spill, we were working right with the fire department. So that was kind of neat. But a lot of paperwork. I thought I'd be out all the time. So I was kind of like, what? I'm like, oh, okay, I got to now put this in the computer. I'm like, great. So, but it was fun. And we got to fully dress up in hazmat suits. And so it was a lot of fun to do that job. So we were called BEE. That was our little acronym.
Okay. How about you, Jamie?
I actually served in both the Army and the Air Force, so I kind of split my time between the two. The Air Force, I did personnel. So a lot of your admin stuff, which is really nice, works really great as a therapist. My cool job in the Army was I was a human intelligence collector. Do you know what that is, Dr. McGrath?
Well, I'm assuming you're going around and stealing people's brains and just adding it to your own so that you could gather their intelligence. Is that right?
Close.
Okay. All right.
An interrogator.
Oh, okay.
So basically a therapist, but a lot nicer version, right? So, yes, I did interrogations. So it's not what people think. There was no waterboarding, Sonia. There was no anything like that. We still have, laws and regulations to follow. So somewhat cool, but not like the movies at all.
Interesting. And do you use those powers now with your members that you train?
My members, my children, whoever, all the people, right? Like it comes in handy.
All the people all the time. That's awesome. Well, one of the things that we like to do, and we'll get into our scroll of questions here in a little bit, but we like to start off a little with, anxiety, OCD, trauma, obviously higher cases in the military than we do see in civilian life, especially in the PTSD area. And I'm curious about what you experienced maybe in the military where you saw that things could be linked potentially to OCD or trauma, and also how you now take some of those experiences and try to, as we all do, bring our experiences into our therapy sessions. And what has it done to help you be able to connect with the members that you work with?
Jamie, go ahead.
That's a big question.
It was. I just made it up too as I was saying it,
good.
just so you know. Yeah.
Heads up next time. I know it's live. If you want to slide some of those questions to us ahead of time.
Nah, it's much more fun if it's just, on the cuff.
Right.
I think everybody has a different experience. I mean, it's just fair for life in general, right? And some experiences are positive and some not so much. I experienced kind of both ends of the spectrum in the military. Sometimes really great leadership. Sometimes leadership could be improved. I saw a lot of mental health in the military that maybe wasn't as addressed because it's often seen, unfortunately, as a detriment to the military as a whole, because there's a certain level of mental health stability one needs in order to be able to be deployed to carry out certain missions. And so there's kind of like they vet even before you go in. But I think a lot of times because they take such young people, some of them don't even realize or have had time to process their childhoods or some of the trauma they've been in already. So there's definitely a lot of people that still get in there with some mental health concerns. And again, depending on the leadership, depending on your experience, those things can go very positively, and people can sometimes get the help they need or may not need the help at all. And then some things may not be so great. So if somebody has some mental health conditions or struggles with OCD or PTSD, that can often be made worse in the military environment and the way they do their training, which makes sense for, at least in the Army, they're creating soldiers, right? So to protect the country, to go on missions, to deploy. So to do those things can definitely take a toll. And like you said, higher rates of PTSD in the military stem from being under very harsh conditions that can be very taxing on the human psyche. And yes, we do see a lot of individuals come back extremely affected, even if they didn't have mental health conditions to begin with. And trying to navigate that has gotten better and better in the military. We're recognizing it, compared to the 60s and 70s and the vets that came back and they were like, we don't know what to do with this generation. They've really honed in and gotten better with supplying both in and out of service mental health to their military personnel.
And just being in the military can be a stressor as well, because you don't even have to have seen combat to have heightened levels of potential trauma or PTSD.
Absolutely correct. I got labeled with PTSD and I didn't deploy. So there's definitely things that happen in the military. Again, high stressors in training, specialized training you might go to, things that you learn, right, or are part of that can definitely contribute to mental health, even if you went in with none or no PTSD prior.
Yeah.
Right. And I know when I went in, it wasn't, talked about a lot if people did have mental health problems. Like I think I went to visit the social worker on base just to see, and nobody was in there, and she said, oh yeah, no one comes in here because that could be, on your record, and then you're not considered deployable. And so it was kind of, I saw firsthand because I was overseas in Iraq and in 2003 when the war was at its peak. And I wasn't a therapist or anything, but a lot of the younger Marines would actually come search me out because I would sit and listen to them. And they would have a lot of trauma of what they've seen, and they're 19 years old. I was 26. I went in a lot later. And they couldn't sleep at night. They're waking up screaming. And so all I could do was just kind of help them process as best I could. Because I would tell them, well, there's the guy over there. That's the mental health guy. And they're like, no, we don't want to talk to him. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I can listen, right, and try to help you. But I always saw, too, when you come back out of, they called it theater, there was never any transition. It was either you go right back to work or you take like a 2-week leave. And I always thought that was not appropriate, because how can you leave somebody over in this dangerous environment for 6 months or more and expect them to function when they get back to the States with their families and everything, when they're still kind of in this hypervigilant state. Mm-hmm. So I always felt that there should have been like a transition time for them to kind of go decomp and decompress and then gradually add back into the day-to-day. So that was a really big factor with people having a lot of DV and a lot of trauma and things and not adjusting well back to normal life when they come back.
And I know they do a much better job of that now. A buddy of mine just retired. He's in fact he's the first retiree from Space Force actually, and had been in the Air Force, and he spent the last few months basically going through classes about how to return to civilian life, right? Just really focusing on that, which I thought was really great that we're working on that. And there's a question that came in that was really appropriate here. I have often wondered about how OCD treatment is done for someone with OCD and PTSD. And of course, there are exposure-based treatments that are available for both of these conditions, and they really work nicely because OCD can be one of those really opportunistic disorders that says, oh, you've had something terrible happen to you. I can prevent that from happening again. Just do some compulsions, and that'll never occur. Right? Have you two done some of the co-occurring treatments for PTSD and OCD here?
Yes, I have. I think Jamie, you have too.
I mean, do they have co-occurring conditions?
We do.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I've started with the OCD, and then sometimes that will kind of decrease, and then all of a sudden the PTSD will kind of come out. And so usually then I do like a co-treat and have them work with our trained prolonged exposure PTSD therapists to kind of balance it out. So it would kind of ping pong back and forth, but we've worked with both.
And the nice thing is you can do like one session a week of OCD and in the same week do another session on the PTSD, so that you can definitely be addressing both of those things at the same time and help people to get better on both fronts potentially.
Right. Yep. I've done that successfully.
Mm-hmm. I was told by a therapist I have C PTSD from verbal and psychological abuse from a college professor. I always thought PTSD had to be some horrible, violent, or life-threatening cause. I don't know what C PTSD is. Do either of you? Are you familiar with it?
Complex or like it might be common situations?
Oh, complex? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. There's always new monikers or things coming out that I'm just like, I know complex, but I've not heard C, so I don't know.
Right.
So complex PTSD is not a diagnosis in the DSM. It is just PTSD that we look at. Yes, the complex. Thank you. Okay. It came through on the scroll. But there's a lot of people who talk about it. And the good thing is that behavioral-based treatments for PTSD work in these conditions for folks. But we don't see an actual diagnosis of complex PTSD coming through in the DSM. And the DSM is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. We are now in the fifth version, the text revision of the fifth version, which means that version 6 will probably come out within the next 10 years, because once the TR comes out, it's usually like a 10-year thing that comes out. So it'll be interesting to see what V6 is going to look like in the future, but definitely treatable. And for both of you, if you see any of the questions in the scroll there on the side that you find interesting or you want us to grab, feel free to say what time it's at, and I will jump to it and happy to bring any of it up whatsoever.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I had to switch over to comments.
Yes, comments. There's we could do the personal ones between us, or you could go to comments.
I haven't seen any of these. I'm like, where is he pulling? He's seeing something. There's a delusional disorder going on. I'm all.
I just pull things out of the air, and
Yeah, I was like,
now you know. Now you see.
Now I know. See?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of going off that question though that was asked as far as the complex or PTSD in general. Yes, repeated verbal, psychological, emotional abuse definitely can trigger PTSD in an individual. And it doesn't have to be horrible, violent, or life-threatening. Sometimes we get vicarious trauma, kind of like you were talking about, Sonia, listening to all these soldiers tell their soldier or their stories is very hard, especially the level of violent trauma that they go through, seeing the people around them die, people that they're close to, that they go through training with, that are sometimes 18, 19, 20 years old, and to be there with them when they die. So yes, we often think of that for PTSD, but even hearing about it is enough to give you nightmares, is enough to not sit well with you, is enough to eventually lead to a PTSD diagnosis. So there's that, you know, a lot of witnessing, a lot of, yes, things can happen to you, but it does not have to be violent. It does not have to be near death.
Yeah. James says, I got a new med my doctor put it on to help me. I'm constantly worried that she'll take me off that med. That is working. I'm constantly worried about that and are waiting until the next appointment. Good ERP. Well, we know any good ERP is going to involve accepting doubt and uncertainty. So nothing that Jamie or Sonia or I could tell you would guarantee you that that doctor is going to keep you on that med, right? Because A, we're not prescribers, number one. So we can't even make those decisions. B, we're not in the mind of your doctor. And C, what I would say is that it's up to you when you see your doctor to advocate for what you feel is helping you or not helping you. And that's then a decision that you and your doctor will make together. But really helping people learn to live with, I don't know how everything's going to go. I mean, heck, I don't know if a plane will crash on my house tonight. It's a possibility, right? There are planes that go over the house, so it could happen. And I don't know if, you know, and I say that always because I live next to an airport too. Like it's just down the block, right? So it could happen. I don't know if I will survive a ceiling collapsing on me, right? Because I use that one all the time. I don't know if, to use my usual example, I don't know if I will go out and, you know, throw a Molotov cocktail at my neighbor's house, right? Which I use that example like once every month at least. All of these things are possibilities, but I live with the doubts and the uncertainties. And now they're extreme examples, obviously, but here's the thing. Weird things happen in the world, right? So we all live with the doubt and the uncertainty. Now, could your doctor remove a medication? It's a possibility. And then what I would do is I would work on living with that possibility, and if it does happen, then working on making a decision about what you want to do in that case, instead of doing all sorts of worst case scenarios, anticipations, and all sorts of other things about what might occur, right? How about for you guys? What would you say?
Jamie?
Sure. I mean, you could just put the pill bottle in front of you, the medication you have, right? Sit with that uncertainty, tell it goodbye. I mean, sit with the fact that you may or may not get to have that medication in your life anymore. And it is what it is. That's one of my favorites. It is what it is, right? We can't control things. You know, maybe you'll get to stay on it. Maybe you won't. I mean, Dr. McGrath, you said it perfectly. We use the response prevention messages and we sit with uncertainty. I mean, if you want to challenge yourself, like I said, you can just, you know, use a visual stimuli or, you know, sit with it a little bit more. Right. Thank you, Sonia, for throwing me in there, though.
You're welcome.
It's what you two do to each other. This one was good. My husband's a vet. He gets obsessive and avoids certain things, but he doesn't seem to have OCD. Thoughts on that one for the two of you in terms of what you've seen with veterans?
Well, I mean, I've seen them get obsessive about certain things. Just be more specific. It could be, you know, checking behaviors, making sure things are locked, things are secure. Avoidance, it depends on what they're avoiding. So it could possibly be PTSD, or it could also be he's hypervigilant, and that's just, you know, he's still in that state. So I've seen that too, where they're constantly kind of in this flux of not feeling safe.
Well, and are there intrusive thoughts behind it? And are we doing compulsions? Or like Sonia was saying, the avoidance behaviors are very much, we don't want the triggers. The hypervigilance, like you were mentioning, with the checking and rechecking. A lot of veterans around 4th of July, right, will avoid fireworks because it reminds them of being in theater or at war. So I would say the best thing to do is always go get evaluated. I mean, come here and we'll assess them for OCD.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That 4th of July is interesting. I used to do something every year when I worked back at the hospital. We would do something in conjunction with the fire department where we would talk about the idea that fireworks can be very triggering for people who have been either in the military or police or have been shot or shot at or something, just what a trigger that could be like for folks. And other people would hear that sometimes and say to me, well, that's just dumb. Don't they realize it's patriotic and all these types of things? They're like, lack of empathy there. you know, not truly understanding what that triggering really is like. I mean, for you two, and I'm sure with people you've known, you probably saw there were various safety behaviors that people who are veterans would do to try to shield themselves from triggers, right?
Mhm. Right. I mean, I get that way still with 4th of July because I'm thinking people are going to start shooting. So I've gotten better. I used to lay on the floor.
Really?
And yeah, because I'm like, someone's going to shoot and it's going to go through my house and it's going to get me. And now being where I work and learning about, like ERP and doing the response prevention, I just now was like, oh, well, if the bullet comes through, it just comes through. And I'm able to lay in my bed and not have that fear of falling to the floor and just everybody's on the floor until the fireworks stop. So it's been a little bit better because I kind of just start, it, like how Jamie said, it may or may not happen.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's hard too for sensory issues too. Like I don't directly relate it to being shot at. I wasn't in war, but it's too loud. It's very like triggering to me just from a sensory perspective too. But I also like when you said that that's dumb. It's not patriotic. Are you saying this to the veterans? You're telling people who served in the military that they aren't
No,
patriotic?
they would just say it to me. Like, I don't understand why people can't just get over it or something like that, But we hear that with OCD too. Sometimes when I tell people what I do, people who don't understand mental health will say, well, just tell them to stop thinking of it. Right. And of course it's like, boy, one session cures would be wonderful, but it isn't how it works. It just doesn't go that way. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, Sonia, you're getting love in the comments. I want my own fan group.
You had one too earlier. You had one earlier up there. So
I'm gonna go scroll through that. Whoever you want to be my favorite, you can be president of my fan club. All one of you.
Yay! Thank you, Alyssa. 5784.
Yeah. I like this one. How do you actually learn to come to peace with uncertainties? It scares me immensely. Boy, I think all of us could tell an interesting story about how we've come to peace with uncertainty. Who wants to start? Because
Right.
I got one, but yeah.
Jamie.
I love that you just throw Jamie.
I know every time. And I'm like sitting here, don't call on me. And I'm like, that's magical thinking. You're gonna get in trouble.
And then
I get called out, right? It's that whole we talked about that, Sonia, the whole like being in the military and taking it at the branch, and then you have the CCO here, and you're like, I'm in trouble if he's talking to me, and then like
that's true.
I gotta go in the front lean and rest, or I gotta go, the front lean and rest is the push-up position whenever you're in trouble. For anyone that doesn't.
Okay. No. For
us,
that's
an army thing.
It was hit the deck. That was.
Love it. I love it.
There you go.
It's about it's about continuous. Why I say continuous? Yeah, because sometimes it still comes up, right? Like sometimes that uncertainty is still going to be there, but the more that you do something, the more you lean into it, the more you accept that you really have no control, that what's going to happen is going to happen. It's very stressful at first. I didn't like it at all. I thought this is the worst, and I'm paying for this. What is this about, right? But it's like so helpful, and I'm very thankful to my therapist that helped me go through it, because it's life-changing. You go from all these symptoms of the compulsions, the time-consuming behaviors, the stress, the anxiety, the uncertainty of just every day is a challenge. And even when you're busy and doing things, it's always back here just running on a loop, to being able to be like, well, maybe these things will happen and maybe they won't. And you start to get your life back, and it starts to be less and less scary the more that you work through the process.
And I think for me, it's more like I don't answer it now. I kind of do the classic shrink response, I call it, where I go, that sounds quite interesting. Please explain more. And, it kind of shocks your thoughts. Because I had an intrusive thought just the other day, walking to the car with my son, and I'm like, oh my God, my son could get attacked or get punched. And I had this whole visual, and I'm like, what are you doing? I was like, we're not going to engage in that. I'm like, so I say, if that happens, it happens, right? But it did bother me, but I just kind of said, well, it is what it is. And I said, I'm just going to keep going to the car, and I get in the car, and, we were fine. But it's just not answering, because if you answer, it's going to be this whole little rabbit hole. So I try to stay neutral now with those.
It can be hard not to answer, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm maybe a leading question there. I don't know, but yeah.
I'm laughing because Sonia and I like to pop off, right? Like we're like, somebody says something, you have to like, wait, can't say that, filter, right? Yeah. But it's like, it is really hard, especially when it's in your own head. Like, but it's not fun getting stuck in that loop and continuing to argue with yourself, because it's yourself that you're arguing with, right? So neutrality is always the best.
Yeah. Right. And I become a superhero. That's what I do. When I feel like I'm powerless, I thought someone attacked my son, then I have teeth, I could bite them. It's like I switch it. I will reframe it real quick to make it be like, well, no, I am able to control that if that was to happen. So I'm not even going to worry about it. I'll deal with it when I do. So that's kind of like my little trick. Sometimes I'll just go, oh, well.
Oh, well. Yeah. Yeah, that idea that I have to be in control of anything is maybe one of the worst things that we could ever try to do, because what control do we actually have over any situation? Right? Maybe some, but definitely not 100% by any means. And I think that that's one of the hardest things for people, especially as we're doing some of the work that we're doing, is that people accepting the fact that you can't have an absolute answer is one of the most difficult things that they will ever have to do. Right. Yeah. And I like this one. I'm having troubles with harm, OCD. I have urges around everyone. How do I deal with this? I think it goes back to what we were just saying. You allow for the urges to be there. My question would be, what's wrong with having an urge? Right? I mean, I have urges to push people downstairs every time I'm on stairs with them. Or escalators. Things like that.
I have urges to trip my kids just because it's funny sometimes. Yeah. I don't.
Yeah.
But yes. I appreciate I'm not alone in that. I thought it was just a me thing.
Oh, no. I've treated so many people who are afraid of what if I push people down the stairs, and I've stood on so many stairs with people behind me telling them to push me downstairs, that it's just ingrained in me now that everyone on these stairs are going to die, right? Because someone's going to push them. And if it's not someone else, it might be me. And then what happens? I get to the bottom of the stairs and, oh, look, nobody died. What do you know? But it's not that I don't have the urges there. And Turtle says the urges are so strong, like you can't be around people. You can be around people no matter how strong an urge is. There's a difference between an urge and an action, right? Now, if somebody were to push people down the stairs, that's a very different experience than dealing with the urge of what if I were to do something like that, right?
Right. And if you keep avoiding it, it keeps feeding this uncontrollable urge. The only way to do it is to just be around people, to kind of get acclimated, to habituate to that. Because I drive a lot and I do have the urge to run over jaywalkers. But do I do that? No, I don't. But I'm like, but I don't stop driving.
Well, I'm so proud of you for not running over people, Sonia. That is a credit. I've had harm. I mean, I have OCD and it just likes to pick from all the themes. It's just fun that way. And a lot of times I'll have these intrusive thoughts with my kids. And so it's not fun. but I would want to avoid them in the beginning when I didn't understand what was going on. And then I learned to not avoid them, to be around them more. So an example was I was in the hot tub with my daughter and I was holding her, and she's only a couple years old, and that intrusive thought would come in of harm, of like, what if I drowned her, right? Sounds really awful. Nothing I would ever do to any of my children. And having done ERP, I held her tighter. I held her closer. I didn't avoid her. We enjoyed our time together splashing in the water. And I basically told her, you know, OCD must think you're amazing and pretty special to this mom if it's attacking you like this.
Yeah. I've heard people say similar things. You know, they see their dog and they think you're going to stab the dog, and they pick the dog up and they're like, I must really love this dog because OCD wants me to kill it every day. Right. So, you know, people will always try to convince us, yes, but mine's different, or my urges are different, or mine are the worst ever, or they're this close to actually coming true, or something like that. And I have to do these things because if I don't do these compulsions to neutralize it, then it really will happen. And yet I hear that constantly from people, but I don't see evidence of that from people. Right. So I usually like to go into therapy sessions based on what I experience and not what you tell me, because I know what you tell me is going to come through the lens of obsessive compulsive disorder, which will be, I'm bad, I'm awful, I'm horrible, I'm terrible. What if I were to do these things, you know, and thinking about them is just as bad as doing them, kind of that thought action fusion experience. So it really, really is bad of me to even have this kind of thought or image or urge. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How do you actually become less overwhelmed, though, with allowing yourself to think those things may happen? I do have PTSD, was just diagnosed with OCD a year ago, and have a few other diagnoses. I mean, Jamie, you talked about your own life, you know, having OCD. How have you done that? How have you allowed those things to be there?
What was interesting is, and I think like a lot of us, I didn't know it was OCD for the longest time. And then with the PTSD from the military, it is almost like napalm to the OCD, right? So like as stuff started happening in my life, as there were these negative events, I remember just kind of, I know what they were saying a little bit about how like it can feed off of each other, and those voices are going to get loud as far as the intrusive thoughts, right? Those thoughts are going to really sit with you. And like you're kind of mentioning, Dr. McGrath, the way that it attacks us as people and makes us feel like we're bad or not worthwhile, or maybe things are our fault, or we, you know, we're this way for a reason. And a lot of it, ERP, getting help, seeking a therapist like Sonia, she's awesome. Fill up her caseload. She loves it. And it's about sitting there, right, and really putting it's work. And I think that's what's hard, right? Like it's not going to get better on its own. It's something that you have to actively pursue every day, of just kind of being like, this is uncomfortable and this doesn't feel good, especially if it's more of that prolonged exposure and you're working with really difficult memories and harsh things. There's going to be a lot of feelings, right? It's therapy. That's part of it. It's going to be hard, but it's going to be so worth it when you come out on the other end and there's not as many triggers, right? And when there are the triggers, they don't affect you the way that they affected you before. They're not so debilitating, and you're able to kind of sit with neutrality with the OCD thoughts. And when you have the PTSD, you're able to function and not be so debilitated by your previous hypervigilance, by your previous dreams and nightmares, by the things that used to take you out at the knees. And now you're able to go through life. I'm not saying it's going to be a perfect process or that you won't still have some stuff there, but it's going to greatly improve if you can stick with the treatment long enough to see the results. Sonia, you want to jump all over that too, right?
I'm reading the comments, so I'm distracted.
Oh, you're busy. Okay, I got this. You read the comments.
Your cat definitely wanted to throw a comment in there, though.
I have no cat. That's not my cat.
Oh, okay.
That's mine, and he doesn't even like me, so he's in here on purpose. I'm like, why are you even in here?
He's in here, and he's like, I want to be on the webinar with you.
He might respond very well.
Someone asked, is reverse therapy the same as ERP? Has anyone heard of reverse therapy? No? Okay. So no. I can't say that it is or isn't because I don't even know what it is. someone said urges can be so distressing, though. If you have urges, yes. And if you have thoughts, they're very distressing. And if you have images, they're very distressing. I remember one time, I don't know if I told you this story. I had people in program arguing, first throughout the day, trying to convince me that they had the worst case of OCD that I'd ever seen. So at the end of the day, I brought all three of them into a room together and said, like the Highlander, there can be only one worst case scenario I've ever seen. I'd like to watch the three of you battle it out until you decide which is the worst, and then that will be the winner. And after half an hour, there was no clear lead in this because they were all trying to convince the others that no, an image is worse. No, an urge is worse. No, a thought is worse. And I said, could we all just maybe decide that it doesn't matter? Right. All that matters is that you're trying to convince me that you have the worst case I've ever seen, I think, as an excuse to then not do therapy because you already think, how could I help you if it's so terrible? Why don't we walk away from this notion of who has the worst case and just try to treat the cases? Because that would be far more important to do than to sit around and battle which one is the worst case that I've ever seen. We will get nowhere doing that whatsoever.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, everybody thinks theirs is the worst. Everyone. Yeah.
But I still like winning. What if I still want to win?
Yeah, well.
One winner.
There you go. One winner. I like this too. I would never compare OCD experience to someone dealing with addiction, but there do seem to be parallels. Absolutely. One of which I'm assuming OCD will be something I deal with for life. Yeah. And addiction is something you deal with for life. And also, compulsions play a role similar to usage, right? When you start to go through withdrawal, what do you want to do? The very thing that's caused you the problem, which is the drug, and the very thing that leads to withdrawal if you don't do it. When you have OCD and the obsession is there, what do you want to do? The compulsion, the very thing that maintains the obsession, right? So there are parallels in the two that we see with addiction. And if you've watched some of the back episodes with when Stacey Conroy was with me doing, we did 2 years of like OCD and SUD discussions on this webinar. And it was always interesting to take a look at, yes, there are parallels between them. And what do you want for both treatments? You want people to be uncomfortable. So sometimes people wonder about ERP, like, why would you want people to do something uncomfortable? So let me use an addiction example for a moment. If I was an addict and my Aunt Sonia and my Aunt Jamie came to see me in the hospital, and I said, Aunt Sonia, Aunt Jamie, could you please just go down the street? I know there's a liquor store down there. Could you please just go get a few of those little airplane bottles of vodka and sneak them in here so that I could drink them so that I could stop going through withdrawal? Now, Aunt Sonia or Aunt Jamie, would you do that for me if I was going through detox and you saw me throwing up and I had a fever and I was really uncomfortable and I had the shakes and the sweats and I was just begging you to help me stop that pain by just bringing me alcohol? Would you go get me alcohol?
No, like there's no.
Okay. You hesitated both for a minute. I was like, are they really thinking about this? Or
no, I was like, well, especially if you're a nephew, you're grounded. Like you're just out.
Yeah. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right.
No, of course not. Well, and a lot of times too with substance use, for a lot of people with a lot of mental health, but even OCD, right? It's to quiet the intrusive thoughts.
It could be a safety behavior. Yeah,
it's a safety behavior because the thoughts are loud, and at first the drinking quiets the thoughts, and then like it feels good, and it's like, oh, I'm not having to do my compulsions, but of course, it's a safety behavior that gets out of hand real quick and is not healthy on any level.
Yeah. So therefore, that's exactly what we want in OCD, right? Instead of being in a difficult physical situation that you are when you're going through detox, you're in a difficult mental situation when you're going through ERP, right? And that difficult mental situation is, I really want to go and do this thing now, just in the off chance that doing that thing will stave off something bad, awful, or horrible from happening. Because if I don't do it and then something terrible does happen, it could be my fault. And if I didn't do it and I didn't stop it, wouldn't I be a terrible, awful, horrible person for not having done so? Right? Something like that. So just like we don't just go in and rescue people who are going through detox and say, oh, this seems to be really difficult, take alcohol. We also, when you're even begging, I just want to do one more compulsion, we know that that's a lie, because there's never just one more compulsion, right? There comes a point where you just have to decide it's time to not do compulsions anymore, right? And this is where we go. I want to address something on this one. Is OCD part of a phobia? No, OCD is its own condition. Phobias are listed in the anxiety disorders, OCDs, and the OCD-related conditions, but they can both involve anxiety. But it says, I can no longer drive on freeways or over bridges or fly. I'm going to challenge that. You choose not to fly or drive over bridges or on freeways, because, to use the words of John Grayson, if I held your family hostage and I said, either drive on a freeway right now or else you will never see any of them again for the rest of their lives, I would bet you'd drive on a freeway. So, except for Jamie. Jamie's like,
it depends on the family you're talking about.
It sounds like she's like, if it's that family, go right ahead. Actually, yeah, take them. Yeah, that's fine.
Oh.
I always like when John uses that example.
Right. And I always like when you use the, you can. It's not that you can't.
Mm-hmm.
You won't.
Yeah.
Right. And people say there are supportive measures that can be done to go through withdrawal. Absolutely. And there are ways to do ERP that are supportive too. That's why we use a hierarchy, and we start with lower level things and we work our way up. We don't throw you in the deep end of the pool and tell you to figure out how to swim. We stick at the toe in the water and we see what it's like when you stick a toe in the water. So that is how we do it on the ERP side and when we're working with OCD, for sure.
Right. And some of those higher level hierarchies or fears actually come down because of we start at the bottom. And so I've seen that happen where something could have been a 10 is now a 5.
Mm-hmm. Any ones that you two want to pull at all, or throw?
I can't read and talk at the same time.
I love it that you are so honest with yourself.
Maybe your cat could read and you could talk. Maybe that
It was like Charlie doing trivia, the 6-month-old playing trivia.
Yeah.
No.
I like this. What if I can't apologize to a therapist because I feel like I said the worst thing that a person could say to another man? I feel like is a phrase that I love to talk about, because what couldn't you justify with the phrase, I feel like, right? I could say, I feel like, and then say anything, absolutely anything afterwards. And it's justified, not because it's true, not because it's real, and not because it has any ounce of evidence whatsoever. It's justified because I feel like. And that's all you need is, yeah, but I feel like.
I don't like that at all. I reject it because, like, my kids will do that. I'm like, I don't care about your feelings. I'm not paid to care about your feelings. Like, it doesn't mean you don't have to do things. So, I mean, yes, we validate their feelings and their perceptions, but it's not a free pass, right? To not do something. You
said you're not paid. Do you get paid as a parent? I didn't know that there was payment involved as a parent for this. That
it's unique to Jamie only.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
I basically, instead of giving them an allowance for having an awesome mom, they have to pay me.
There you go. Yeah. I think that's a really wise idea. Yeah. What's the parent tax on this situation here, right?
Yeah, exactly. Awesome mom tax.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You both have kids. What's the mom tax? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, there you go.
Oh. I like this one. I don't know if you can find it. It's Noah, Moskal. It says, have any of you struggled with accepting the presence of OCD and being able to coast through the sensations?
What time is it at? Oh, wait, I struggled. I got it right there. There we go. There it is. Mm-hmm. Take it away. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I have struggled with accepting the presence of OCD But I have learned to kind of just let that feeling just be there, right? That sensation just be there. Because I know over time it will decrease. It's kind of like they call it urge surfing. You're going to kind of go up, 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 and then you're going to hit a point where it stops, but you have to ride it out and not give in to the compulsions or not give in to that intrusive thought. And it's very uncomfortable, but it gets easier.
Mm-hmm.
I like that, Sonia. Good answer.
Boom.
I think this is one of the hardest things for anybody with OCD, right? Is to accept that I have to live with something that I don't want to live with. But again, I'll use an example. You know, I have tinnitus. I have to accept the fact that I hear a sound that nobody else in the world hears. I have to accept the fact that it always sounds like I've just left a concert, and the ringing in my ears has been like that for 30 years, and it will be that way until I die, because as of right now, we have no cure for tinnitus. So, yes, it's hard to accept. I wish it would go away. If I had a genie lamp 3 wishes, that would be one of the 3 wishes, that I would not have tinnitus anymore. But I have it. So whether or not I accept it, I have it. I might as well accept that I have it and then live my life instead of constantly fight having it and then being this battle with something that I have zero control over and zero ability to influence whatsoever. So I just choose not to waste my time talking about, other than in when I'm doing talks like this, but talking about tinnitus, because there's not a darn thing I can do about it. So I live with it. Right.
And we are here for you.
What was that? I couldn't hear you. The ringing in my ears. Very. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
We are here for you, but that's only Auntie Sonia. Auntie Jamie is off.
Auntie Jamie is like, screw you. You're staying. You're staying in the detox an extra week, actually. Yeah. Yeah. I always go to. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I like that. Noah liked your example.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Noah says, I hate the answer, but I know it's right.
Well, it's the same thing with OCD. I don't know any of us living with OCD or another mental health condition that are like, yes, when I was little, I wanted this so bad. I'm so glad I have it. Right. But it's as soon as you accept having it and the sooner you start working on it and responding to it neutrally, the better it gets. And it's going to be there, but it doesn't have to take over your life.
Right.
Yeah. And one of the things that, and you know, for the two of you, is there ever, with OCD, is there ever an end to the what if questions?
No, I can't out-talk myself. I can't outthink myself. I will always, and I'm really good. Like, I think I'm really good, right? But it's like, oh, what about this? What about, it just keeps going. It's never ending. It's exhausting. I'm exhausting, right? Like, I didn't think so. You guys might think so, but I didn't think so until I was arguing with myself.
Right. No, it's always what if. I mean, I could what if myself into a millennia. And so I just usually have to just shut it off. I'm like, you know, that could go on for days. It's like I call the YouTube rabbit hole. Mm-hmm. You know, you end up watching a man build a building in the middle of the Amazon. I mean, that was a thing. I was like, wow, what is this? I mean, because found this weird channel. So it's just like, no, there's a point where you just kind of go, I'm good. Like I can what if for days and it's not going to stop. So that's why being neutral is really helpful. Just not answering.
And it's also why we do exposure and response prevention therapy, because we know that a talk therapist might want to play the what if game with you and try to convince you that every one of your what ifs may not be true or probably isn't true. We just say, you know what? We're just going to accept that they're there. We're not even going to worry about the truthiness of them or not of them, right? We're just going to accept that they're there. Because here's one thing that I tell everybody I work with. You have one more yeah, but what if than I have an answer for, which means it's worthless for me to try to give you answers, because no matter what I give you, you will always yeah, but what if me.
Right.
Even if I give you the most solid, researched, best answer possible, you will still find a yeah, but what if to follow it up with.
Right.
And it's not effective. I had a member today come in and tell me that their talk therapist did the why game. And I'm like, what's the why game? Well, it's where you exhaust all the possible outcomes. And I'm like, well, did you win? And she was like, well, of course not. I still had more whys to go. I'm like, you will never stop having whys. So was that helpful? No. Well, I'm so glad you made it to ERP.
Yeah. Yeah. It is definitely like just this. Oh, well, I'd liken it to scrolling. I mean, how many of us have scrolled on our phone and an hour later we're like, geez, I'm still looking at my damn phone. You know, what the hell is that? Why did, you know, and I think what ifing can be like that too. You know, you just don't realize how much time you spend. But what if this, and what if that, and what if this, and what if that, and what if this, and what if that, and if your goal is to get an answer to every one of these, well, you can't. Why? Because OCD's nickname is the doubting disorder. And what does the doubting disorder do? It doubts every answer you ever get for anything, which means you cannot give OCD an answer that it will accept, because the nature of OCD is to doubt every answer that it gets. It's the way it works. So hard as it is, not here to give you answers, here to help you live with doubts and insecurities and questions. That's what we really want to do. Right? That's what's really important.
Right.
So it's not the answer that people want a lot of time when they come to therapy. You know, they think, oh, you're an OCD specialist, you're finally going to give me the answers. No, I'm an OCD specialist because I'm going to help you live with the questions. Yeah. Oh, non-OCD experts think they can give you the answers.
Right.
OCD experts know that they're going to help you live with the questions. So that, I think, is something that's just really, really important to keep in mind. You know, I like that here. Acknowledge the thought, try to tolerate the discomfort, no matter how real it feels. And then just focus your attention on other things, the things you want to do in life. How many of you are living the life that OCD wants you to live instead of the life that you want to live, right? Because OCD has such an allure, such a pull on us to do things, right? And that's the last thing that we want to do, is to do the things that OCD wants, right? So again, you can ask all the what if questions, and there's still some coming into the scroll, but I will die, as will any of my relatives and their relatives and their relatives and their relatives and their relatives die before you can even start to feel like you might be getting close to it.
Right.
Before we go, any final words of wisdom from the two wonderful co-hosts tonight that I've gotten to share my screen with, and the cat too?
I kept the 6 kids out of this, so I feel like it was a compromise.
That was good.
Thank you. Sonia has all the wisdom. I can see it in her face.
I do. Is to not be in fear of seeking treatment for your OCD, because you will understand it better, and you will be able to live your life and be free. And I've seen people, come in at their worst, and they leave better, happier, and actually living. and instead of having OCD control everything.
That's
I think
wonderful.
it's also nice to know you're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
There
Right.
are some awesome support groups here. I think, Sonia, don't you lead one of them too? So shout out to Auntie Sonia. But and that guy over there that runs things, I guess, too. But like,
He's an idiot. Don't listen to him. Okay.
But yes, it's so nice to know you're not alone when you think sometimes that your brain is the only one that works like this. And then you
Right.
have these support groups, and there are other peers out there that want to help support you and your therapist. And No CD just wants you to be able to live the life that you want. And it's a very safe space to do it in.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I want to thank both of you for joining tonight. I really appreciate it. And thank you again for your service as we honor veterans this month, and know that here at No CD, we can definitely be helpful to people who have OCD and trauma. And if you've served, we are more than happy to work with you as well. So thank you both. And if you're looking for help for OCD related conditions, anyone, check us out at nocd.com. That's nocd.com, where we would love to assist you so that, again, you start living that life that you want to live and stop living that life that OCD wants you to live. Until next week, everyone, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Be better to yourselves than your OCD.